All right, welcome once again to the Friday Beer Break, brought to you by the Toronto Festival of Beer, July 26th through the 28th. As you can see, we're in a different studio. They're doing some renovations in the main studio for The Edge, so we're in a secondary place. But I'm joined by my good friend, Mr. Chris Schreier from the TorontoBeerBlog.com.
Fred, how you doing?
I'm fantastic. I saw this at Session Toronto.
Yeah, you did.
And I didn't have it because I was drinking summery stuff. I'm not, like, when it comes to like hardcore triple IPAs, potent hoppy stuff on a really hot day, unless it's cold, I'm not a big fan.
Yeah, I mean, I like an IPA, a double IPA anytime. That being said, at Session, it was inhumanly hot.
Disgustingly hot and humid.
And because it had been raining, I had worn jeans. And so I was just like, oh, it was awful. I won't get into the details.
Yeah, you.
So I was sticking to saisons a lot.
Yeah, saisons.
Yeah, so
nice and light. Now, is this a double or a triple?
it's a double IPA.
Double IPA.
An imperial IPA or a double IPA. Some friends of mine would point out that the style doesn't really exist. For the sake of our argument, we're going to go with it. But in classification, it's like a really big IPA. This one's 8%, and I can't remember what the IBU is on it, but it's pretty hot.
Now, when you're talking about like an imperial IPA, is that reference to the whole imperial, like over-hopping, over-alcoholizing and whatever to make the classic transition from the UK to Russia?
It's sort of a semantic reference to the Russian Imperial Stout. So
All right.
Imperial, that's where it's coming from. Double, obviously, goes more towards the Belgian style. They both mean basically the same thing. So this is from Black Oak Brewery. It's 10 bitter years. We haven't said that yet. And it's really interesting. They've been making it for, I think, 2 years now.
We haven't had them on in a long time.
We did this beer last year.
But it was it in a can?
No, it was in a small
Yeah.
bottle. This is what it's now in at the LCBO, which is really exciting. It's only in the past ever been available at bars or at the brewery. And in fact, at the brewery, it would sell out like in a day. They would make an entire order of it, and the beer geeks would just flock and take it all.
Now, is this like a trend to have it come in like the big bottle?
You're going to see a lot more of this, yeah. So the LCBO, they're looking for the ability to sell it as a single. That's not a policy, but certainly that's the way a lot of people are going. And then, yeah, the bigger ones, you know, you get the Cameron's RPA, comes in the big boys.
Which is a fantastic beer, by the way.
A lot of the stuff now is coming in. We call this a bomber. This is a 650 ml bottle, or a bomber is what they call it in the States. So this is the third year of it. They've been making 10 bitter years for 3 years. And it is Black Oak. They changed the labeling up somewhat on the 10 bitter years, but it's still the good guys from Black Oak. Now I'm going to open it up, but I got a little surprise in store for you here.
All right.
Our friends from BB Barfly
Ah, fantastic.
have provided Fred and I with custom-made BB Barfly bottle openers. So mine says Toronto.
So incompetent. So incompetent.
Says Fearless Fred, something like that, I think. And these are really cool openers. We had Brian on ages and ages ago.
He actually gave a bunch to the Sheepdogs. Ewan from the
Yeah.
Sheepdogs lost his mind over this.
Yeah, we're stoked. So anyway, so he made us up a pair of our own personalized.
I have a
openers.
skull. I
Pretty
don't.
sweet. I have hops that look sort of tattooy. Which I
Wow.
really like. So anyway, now I'll open the beer. But big thanks to the guys at BB Barfly for the.
Let's just stick with one bottle for now, because I've got to keep broadcasting for the rest of the day.
So,
I'm not here to get drunk. I'm here to review and be a professional.
consummate professional. That's what I like about you, Fred. So yeah, that one can be Fred's. This one will be mine. You notice already.
I can already get some smell from it.
Tons and tons of
The
nice
nose.
hops. This certainly wasn't the first big sort of double IPA in the province, but it was one of the first ones that really got a ton of traction. Pardon me. Fred wanted that last little bit. So brilliantly clear, sort of a brown kind of orangey color. Nice fluffy head on it.
Very crisp looking.
And yeah, just
Looks like the kind of beer they put in commercials when they're like, look at how crisp and clean and clear this is.
it tastes so cold.
Oh, that smells fantastic.
Yeah, so tons and tons of nice American hops.
Yeah, that's really bitter.
Yeah, sweet enough that it's not a total hop bomb, but definitely a very, very...
What type of hops are they using?
I don't know specifically which ones. I'm just going to take a look on the back here. They don't say. I mean, you definitely get some of the C hops, who would call it, some of the citrusy guys. And there is some pine to it as well. I mean, could be any of the big ones. I'm not adept enough at picking hops.
The first, I'm not gonna lie, the first pull was a little bit harsh, but the second and third have been, well, they've been all right.
Oh, it's so good. Warms up well. This is probably, my fridge runs at like 6. This is probably around 7 after it's in the cooler getting here. this will drink really good at cellar temp at like 10 or 12, where a lot of the complexity will really start to come out, really resiny and juicy hops.
It's a great flavor. Like there's a lot of taste to it. Like a lot of IPAs just focus on getting like that citrusy hop taste and then bitterness, and that's it.
Yeah.
Whereas this has a lot of flavors into itself, you know?
Yeah, it's very well layered, very complex. It was their 10th anniversary brew, 10 bitter years. It's the running joke. Ken, the owner, has been bitter for 10 years, so this is how bitter he is what they say. But yeah, now they make it every year for their anniversary.
Now, when we had the stuff from Sawdust City where he did all the cask aging and all that, what would happen if you took something like this and aged it in a cask?
That's a very good question. So depending on the cask, because you remember we talked about the fact that some casks will impart more flavor than others and so on and so forth. This isn't necessarily a classic beer to cask age. Certainly if you put it in a bourbon barrel, it could take on some interesting sort of vanilla bourbon-y kind of tones. But more what you would get is it would mellow out a lot. A lot of the hop aromas would start to drop out a bit, and it would become more well-rounded. It would still have a lot of booze to it, and it would still feel quite bitter, but a lot of that initial pop would start to settle out of it somewhat.
So this is available at the LCBO for like the first time ever.
First time ever.
In the Bombers.
In the Bombers. Ken was telling me they just sent their first shipment of it out to the Ottawa LCBO, so if you're watching us in Ottawa.
When we've got a lot of people who watch from Ottawa.
Ottawatonians, I believe they're called.
Yeah, something like that. Ottowites?
Ottawatians.
Yeah, that's a great... Ottowites. Ottawatians. Oh,
Anyway.
yeah.
So Black Oak's going to be at Toronto Festival of Beer. They'll definitely have 10 bitter years. I say definitely. I don't know definitively, but I would assume. I can't imagine they wouldn't have it. And they're great guys to go by, hang out, really knowledgeable. It's the brewery staff who generally staff the booth, which is cool. A lot of the time it's hired guns, and in this case, these are the people who actually make the beer.
It's great because when you've got questions, if you're a small brewer and you're doing stuff on your own, every question you have they can answer rather than somebody who's just there paid to talk about things.
That's right, and they will. They're very generous with their time, so check them out at Toronto Festival of Beer. They'll be there for sure.
And BB Barfly, are they going to be there?
No, you know what? I was talking to Brian about that, and they've had such a busy spring. They didn't feel that they would have enough product to actually be able to justify being there and selling. But you can check them out online, bbbarfly.com.
You get a switchblade or
switchblade
butterfly knife.
Butterfly knife, thank you.
Yep.
And very slick, well made. It's my favorite opener. My old black one's the one I use every day. So.
Fantastic.